Shalom, everyone. This is Mike Sutcliffe, the online ministries pastor here at Fringe Ministries, and I'd like to thank you once again for joining me in our daily counting of the Omer 2023. Today we're going to look at Psalm 119, verses 41 through 48. And I want to call your attention before we begin today's passage to the word vav. Depending on what translation you're using, you might see it right above the beginning of this passage, or you might see the Hebrew sign for the word vav. And this is a letter in Hebrew. This is actually the sixth letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And today is day 6. So it's kind of great that we get to walk through this chronologically as we continue to work through this counting of Omer. Now remember, the purpose for this is to prepare our hearts to receive God's Torah and to be free to worship Him the way He desires to be worshiped. I think this is one of the most beautiful times of the year, and it is a time that I pray about and I long for, and each year now, it's one of those transitional periods for me where I feel like the Lord is doing a great growth in my heart, and I hope you're having the same experience. Well, I want to talk just briefly today about this word vav and what it signifies as we read through it. There's a lot here, but I want you to notice that it kind of looks like a peg or a nail, and which is something that we would use to connect to something, right? So we might nail two boards together, or you might peg something onto a board. And this should represent to us that it is a connection. Right? This is what it means. And what are we connected to? Well, this could mean in many ways, this could mean that we are a connection between heaven and earth. We could be in connection with those who share the world with us, or a unique experience, a unique connection with God. Now, there are negative connections, and most of us have those in our lives as well. So a negative connection, or in this case, a negative usage of the vav, might be an addiction or unhealthy codependence. So when we read this, I want you to think about the concept of connecting, because I'll tell you what, as you read Psalm 119, verses 41 through 48, I think we have a picture of the gospel. So let me read it to you. And I'm using the 95 NASB today. And it says, "May your loving kindness also come to me, O Lord, your salvation according to your word. So I will have an answer for him who reproaches me. For I trust in your word, and do not take the word of truth utterly out of my mouth. For I wait for your ordinances, so I will keep your laws continually forever and ever. I will walk at liberty, for I seek your precepts. And I will also speak of your testimonies before kings, and shall not be ashamed. I shall delight in your commandments, which I love, and I shall lift up my hands to your commandments, which I love, and I will meditate on your statutes." So why do I think this is a picture of the gospel? Well, remember I talked about the idea of the vav being about connection. And the only way that we can be connected to God is not by our work. It's not by our deeds. It's by His loving kindness. You know, the word here is hesed, and it means mercy typically, right? And mercy often is not getting what you deserve. And so what we're saying here is, or what the writer is saying here is, may your mercy also come to me. Now, the other concept behind this word loving kindness or mercy or hesed is God's covenant loyalty. So even mercy is not based on you or me or what we do. It's completely based on God, because He has a covenant loyalty to His name and the covenant that He made with Abraham. And that is what we are putting our hope in. So you can begin to see this beautiful picture of the gospel begin to take place. He goes on to say, and this is it. This is like the key. Your loving kindness also comes to me. You know, for God so loved the world that He sent His only begotten Son, right? You know the passage, John 3:16, 3:17. He came near to us because we could not go near to Him. And this could very well be a messianic prophecy as we read through this, right? And He says, "O Lord, your salvation according to your word. This word for salvation is a word that means deliver from danger. This is, I love the other aspect of it. Okay, and it gets so beautiful. It is not just to deliver, like, okay, you're out of danger. It means to bring out of one situation and into another. We come from the danger of being judged and into a right relationship with God because of repentance and salvation through Yeshua. And I think this is really a beautiful thing. The other thing is that it makes things wide. There's a concept here, and we're going to get back to why that is. Just keep that in mind for a second, because we know that the way is narrow, but this is going to open up a lot of things for us. This word here, when it says here, your salvation according to your word, this is a spoken promise. So you can continually see that the writer is recognizing that he's connected to God because God made a covenant loyalty, a promise, and that is why he can have hope in his salvation. He says, so I will have an answer for him who reproaches me. My only answer, if the day comes, or when the day comes and the Lord says, why should I let you have eternal life? My only answer will be because of your son Yeshua. It's not because I do the Shabbat. It's not because I don't eat pork. It's not because I wear tzitzis. It's because the Messiah came to me and died on my behalf. That's what this is telling us over and over. And then he says, for I trust in your word. Do you have confidence in the word, the holy word of God, his son Yeshua? That's the question here. If you don't have that confidence, then the next questions that we have to ask ourselves is, do we have hope? It goes on here in verse 23 and says, do not take the word of truth utterly out of my mouth. This is the word. What is the word of truth? Salvation through Yeshua. That is the word of truth that the writer is speaking of. He is speaking of God's plan for deliverance for all mankind that is made available only through the Son. And he goes on here and he continues to say that I will keep your law, your Torah. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to guard it. I'm going to protect it. I'm going to cherish it. Not once, not twice, but he says continually, forever and ever. Now, in the English, we might quickly look past this like, oh, he's just saying, he's being poetic maybe. But what each of these words means is something different. Continually means continual, like the whole burnt offering that was made to God every morning and every evening. It's a continual thing. Forever means perpetual, as into a very far, long away distance. And the last word, forever, means perpetuity, without end. That's what he's saying here when he talks about, I will guard and keep your law. It's not once. It's not something that was only for the Jews. It's not something for non-believers to only fear. It is for those of us who have been saved by the blood of Messiah, that we are to keep his laws. How long? For perpetuity, forever and ever. And I love the connection between it being a sacrifice. I love it because this is what the Lord asks of us. He asks us to have broken and contrite hearts, and that is the sacrifice that he demands. He needs our hearts in a right condition. And then he says, we're moving quickly because I'm running out of time again today. I will walk at liberty, for I seek your precepts. Here we go. Liberty. I am free to worship you, God, because I seek to know your love according to your ways. Not my ways, because my heart is wicked beyond words, but his ways are perfect and beautiful. He goes on in verse 46 that says, I will speak of your testimonies before kings, and I shall not be ashamed. This word ashamed is one that I've looked at a couple of times, and it really means to fall into disgrace. And it's because of not of an action, but who you've placed your trust in. Remember, going back to the beginning of this passage, this word vav represents being pinned or pegged or connected to. Who do you put your trust in? Do you put it into a pastor? Into a ministry, into Google, into a friend, into a doctor, or do you put your trust and hope into God? And if you do that, then you will never, ever be put to shame. You will never fall into disgrace. This is what he's telling you. And I want to close out today with this verse 48 that says, I shall lift up my hands to your commandments. I want you to think about that in the picture of Moses and Aaron and Hur, because every time I picture that, when he lifts up his hands, I picture praise and worship. I'm worshiping you, Lord. In praise and worship, that's how I'm going to do your commandments, in praise and worship. And when Moses had his arms lifted up high, Israel was winning in battle. But when he began to grow tired and his arms fell down, then Israel began to lose. Friends, I think the message here is that we need to be connected to God. That's what the Vav means, connected to God. But we also need to be connected to one another, encouraging each of us to be in communities with strong believers so that when we do grow tired and our hands begin to stop praising and worshiping, your brother or sister will come alongside you and help lift those arms back up so that we can continue to worship the Lord and have victory in our lives. Friends, I hope that you are continuing to go through this study with me. I really have been just blessed by this counting of the Omer study, and I hope that you have too, and I hope that you'll join me tomorrow as we look at Psalm 119. We're going to look at verses 49 through 56. Love to hear your thoughts. Please share it in the comments, and until next time, shalom.